Hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of Hearthstone. So today, we're going to be looking at my Ramp Druid deck once again. We're going to do a little bit of play with it in the ranked ladder. But before we do that, I've made a number of changes to it. And so if we actually hop over to Hearthstone here, you'll see that I made a big update today. And you'll see that I changed out 6 different cards. And I want to talk about them a little bit before we actually get into laddering with them. So the reason for this changes are pretty simple. I've been playing a lot in the current meta, and it's changed, essentially, from what it used to be. And so we're seeing a lot of mid-range Hunter now, which a lot of people are struggling with. Zoo is still quite prevalent. We're also seeing things like aggro mage happen every once in a while. And some control mage, too, because they tend to be good against mid-range Hunter, which I actually like. But we're also seeing some paladin, that sort of thing. And when I say we're seeing, I'm rank 4 right now in the NA ladder, so up in that area we're seeing these things. And, you know, I've been playing around with different decks to try and fight against that sort of thing, but the problem is the Druids are just so versatile. Any other deck I've found is actually very difficult to adapt with. It's very difficult to play against all of those different decks if you don't have the choice of something like a Druid. So I've changed around this deck a little bit to be a little bit more focused toward the end game to make it really embrace that controlling nature, but by the same token, it's much better now, or at least it's still as good, if not a little bit better, against the rush decks as well. We're seeing less Zoo by comparison, so I don't feel as obligated, but it's still very strong against that. So I want to go through these changes and talk about them a little bit. Okay, so essentially, the things that I took out. So I took out Harvest Golems, I took out the Earthen Ring Farseers, and I took out the Defenders of Argus. And I want to talk a little bit about why I did all of those things. So, the Defenders of Argus, that's the first one, I think, to talk about. If I can find them here. So the Defenders are essentially really excellent cards in a lot of cases. They really are. They have a lot of potential for value. Essentially, you're getting a 4/5 for 4, just like something like a Yeti or a Sengen, a Yeti, rather. But the problem with it is that it's conditional, right? You only get a 2/3. It's a Sun Fury Protector, but it has the bonus for the 2 mana of potentially being a double Sun Fury Protector, if you want, or a double Shattered Sun Cleric, if you want to think about it that way. More times than not, you will find that you will not be able to use it effectively, in my experience. And the worst part about it is, especially in the current meta, normally I'm okay with that. Normally I'm okay with sometimes it not going well, because a lot of the time it'll pay off. But I'm not okay with that now, because essentially, since there's so much Hunter out there, having the Defender of Argus in the deck sort of makes you want to develop your board a lot, right? It makes you want to play 2 creatures and then a 3rd in the Defender. It makes you want to play even more sometimes to get all those taunts and really develop your board, and it really encourages that, which is usually very bad against Hunters because of the Unleash the Hounds thing. The more creatures you have, the worse it's going to be. And so, a lot of the time you don't get a chance to develop the board as much anyway. And so I figured that, why don't we cut everything right out of the equation? We won't have the temptation there, we won't have the incentive to sort of keep your board high, and instead we'll just sort of cut that out. We have other taunts, we have other things to do, and we have strong individual creatures, so we don't need these as much. So I cut them out. I also cut out the Harvest Golems, and I cut out the Earthen Ring Farseers. Now that's a pretty big change. One of the things that this deck was really interesting about, I had a problem with Ramp Druids, because if you don't get your ramp in the beginning, you have a lot of problems. And so I didn't like that very much. Still, this deck doesn't have that problem, even without those 4 creatures. But the thing is, I found that these played too slow, simply. Against something like a Zoo deck, 3 mana is too much. 3 mana means you can only get out 1 or 2, because the thing is, you don't have the game to wait, right? By the time the Zoo gets going, turn 3, turn 4, they already have a board developed. And so you play one of these things, it is not going to help you very much. Especially if you're playing like turn 4, turn 5, these are really not going to help you very much, because essentially you play it and maybe your hero power, but you probably aren't going to be able to have a lot of impact on the board. And so the heal is nice. The heal on a minion is really nice, and I like that it gives you a lot of sort of value for what you want against aggro, but it, generally speaking, is too slow. Both of them are. And so I took them both out. And instead what I've done is I've replaced them with Wild Pyromancers. And so why did I choose that? Well, it's much faster, right? 2 mana means you have a 3/2 on the board, which is as good as both of these, essentially, as far as damage is concerned. And the cool thing about it is that if you do have it on turn 3, turn 4, turn 5, you can play it, and you may well be able to play a spell as well if you so happen to have it in your hand. And so what that means is you actually can immediately impact the board with sweeps, right? Is almost as good as playing Thalnos. If you play Thalnos Swipe, you have a 5-2, right? You hit something for 5, everything else takes 2. That's really strong. If you do that with the Pyromancer, it is still a 5-2, because you hit everything for 4, or hit one thing for 4, hit everything for 1, and then it hits everything else for 1. So it's basically putting 2 more Thalnoses in for the purpose of board sweeps and that sort of a thing. Ditto with Starfall, it basically gives you the extra spell power without actually giving you spell power. And it's a 2-drop minion, and it's a 3-2. And having that anyway, even if you don't use it for the spell damage, just throwing down a 3-2 minion on the board can really help in a lot of cases, including against control. So I'm a really big fan of the Wild Pyro. It's been really very helpful lately, and so I thought that it was better than both of these combined. But the problem with that, of course, is that you lose a lot of healing out of the Earthen Ring Farseers, and so Healing Touch is something that I put in instead. And it's really excellent against things like the Zoo, because you can sit there and you can take some abuse for a little while, and then you can pop right back in. A great turn 5 play, actually, is Wild Pyro Healing Touch. Sets them back a long way. And so, in addition to that, so I put in Healing Touch. I also put in Ancient of War. I'm going to skip around a little bit here. Ancient of War for late game sustain. It gives you another threat on the board that actually really does help against something like an aggro deck. If you looked at the late game before, if I go back over to the website here, if you look at the late game before, I didn't have very much that was sort of taunty, right? I had the Sunwalkers, that's fine, but only Rag and Ysera, which will not stop aggro, and I forget what else there was. The Defenders of Argus, not very good in the end of the game for stopping aggro, right? If you're in a long fight with Zoo and you're top decking, he's top decking more likely than you are, the Ancient of War is an excellent card to just stop him dead in his tracks. Against things like the Hunter, it's also excellent. Against things like even a late game control deck, if you're playing against a priest or something, this is actually pretty okay as well. You basically never play it in attack mode, unlike with the Druid of the Claw where you often do play it in attack mode. Or the charge mode rather, this doesn't have charge, so in all likelihood you're just making it easier to kill it with no board impact. So this is meant to be a wall and nothing else really. I don't have 2 in there because I don't think it's worth having 2, I don't think is important enough, but 1 I think is quite effective in my experience. The other 2 things that I added was Sylvanas and the Faceless Manipulator. So again, we're putting more late game into the deck. Sylvanas is actually surprisingly good against aggro, and it's also surprisingly good against most things. The reason that I chose it over something like Cairn is that Cairn is a Yeti, right? Cairn is only a Yeti, and the value in Cairn comes from the fact that when he dies, he is another Yeti, right? But the thing is, Cairn, against aggro, against something like that, it doesn't matter if Cairn has 2 Yetis, because they just treat him like a Yeti, and they will do something like, if it's extremely aggro, they'll just walk right over him and it won't matter. Something like Sylvanas actually gives you the power to change things. You can attack into things, you can suicide her, that sort of thing. And the cool part about that is that aggro sort of has to deal with her, otherwise you take some of their tempo from them immediately. And so I find this better than something like Cairn for the same slot. I just prefer it myself. And then the Faceless Manipulator allows you a lot of play. You can do a lot of cool things with this. If you are against a late game control deck, you can put out double Rags or double Yseras. One of the ways that I've actually won a fairly surprising number of games is putting out the Druid of Claw in charge mode and then Faceless Manipulating on turn 10, and then you have 2 8/8 charge minions, or 2 4/4 minions rather. Very effective, particularly if you put one out, if you have an Innervate out. The other way that I've won before, although this is much more rare, it's a lot of cards, is Druid of the Claw, Mark of the Wild, Innervate, Faceless Manipulator, and you have 2 6/6s with Taunt and Charge. That will end games very, very quickly. Outside of that, I've also used it to steal Doomguards and kill Zoo decks. I've used it to do any number of things. It's really nice when you're in the control game, and it's also really nice sometimes against aggro and stuff like that. Nothing like copying your own Sunwalker to really screw with any sort of aggressive deck. So that's why I made all the changes that I did. I like where it is right at the moment. It's done well for me. So let's go into some games, and I'll give you an update on how it plays and see how it goes.
Malfurion versus Malfurion.
I must protect the wild. Nature
Okay, so we are up against another Druid with the mirror match going on. So we're certainly not going to keep Rag, or Thalnos, or even Mark of the Wild. I like to keep Wrath in the hand, but that's about it. Okay, so we have the Wild Growth, so that's nice. We can choose to coin into it or not. We'll see what he does. Okay, so this is a good question, because so we have to think about curve a little bit. So if we coin into this, then the following turn we will have 3 mana, and not much to do with it outside of a hero power. Whereas if we wait for it, then we'll have 4 mana and we can coin into a Druid of the Claw. So in this case, actually, I think that we're going to wait. Next turn we will do Wild Growth, and then the turn after that we coin out the Druid of the Claw instead. Okay. This is giving away to him that we are a Ramp Druid. There are a couple of tells very early on as to how they play that tells you what sort of Druid you're facing. That isn't really much of a tell. I could take that to be a token Druid, or this, or he could be using my old deck for that matter. Either way, though, we are going to coin out the Druid of the Claw, and we're going to do it in charge form because I'm going to be a little bit more aggressive here. What I could do, and it would be very difficult for him to remove, I think, would actually be to innervate out the Mark of the Wild. But I'm not going to do that because next turn we're going to innervate out the Ancient of Lore instead. One of the biggest things to plan, or one of the biggest challenges with the Ramp Druid is to really plan out your sort of your mana spending. Okay, so he's going to take the 1, get a card. Oh, he's going to do it twice and then take it right out. Okay. So 2 cards out of that. Oh, wait a minute. How did that work? Oh, okay, yeah, no, that makes sense. Never mind. Okay, so let's do what I said before. We're going to innervate out the Ancient of Lore, and we're going to get ourselves some cards.
Job done.
Oh, I see what happened. You only got the card once. Never mind, I spazzed out there. Didn't know what was happening. Okay. So this is a interesting choice. We have a lot of things that we can do here. So one of them would be to silence. And what we would probably do there is we would silence the Harvest Golem and Mark of the Wild. The Ancient of Lore kills this. And we have a 7-1 on the table, and he will probably suicide into it. 7-1 rather, 7-3. So he can't actually do it unless he does it with the hero power. That's actually quite a strong option. We could also do a swipe, which would kill this and take this down into kill range. I'd have a 5-1, he'd have a 2-1. But no, actually, I think that what we're going to do is the first thing that I said. Yep.
I must safeguard.
We're just going to silence the Harvest Golem, and then we will Mark the Wild here.
I wait for no one.
So now he has an awkward go of this. There are a lot of things he can do to clear it. I expect that he will kill it, but oh wow, that's interesting. Innervating out the swipe. Wow, wow, that's quite the play. Okay, well, number of options here, as per usual. I think not a bad one is going to be probably Wrath Yeti. We could put down the Ancient of War in taunt form, as you would, That would stop the Leroy, but it would also allow him to trade the Leroy and do... it's quite a bit easier to deal with than I would like. We could also swipe his face and then hero power it, but I don't feel a need to take that damage when I can just wrath it. I'm not really in need of cards, so I think we're just going to do this. It's mana inefficient, but there's no better option, really.
Pay attention, class.
Okay, so this is certainly a token Druid. I had suspected that before, but
I'm ready to learn.
that just helps to confirm. Okay, so he's going to blow all of his spells and develop his board reality. A Blood Mage Thalnos. Okay, perfect. I was about to say a Blood Mage Thalnos would be absolutely perfect here, and it certainly is. Now, so there are a couple of things we could do. I think the right thing to do is Thalnos swipe, but by the same token, we could also do...
What to do?
No, actually, we're going to do that, and we'll take the 4 damage to the face. I'm not so concerned about that. And we've developed our board quite significantly, and he has none. So I'm a fan of where we are at the moment. Ancient of War and Hero Power is next turn, or potentially Rag if he doesn't develop his board at all.
Where shall I strike?
Okay. So now, one of our options here certainly would be to Starfall the Druid of the Claw. That gets rid of a lot of our problems. We could also just put up the Ancient of War. The unfortunate part is that we can't really break this easily, right? So I actually think that I'm willing to trade here because we have such card advantage. I think I will do this. We're going to Starfall here, and then we will get rid of the Harvest Golem. And now I have a lot of big endgame cards, and he has none. And the question here is to do this with our face or to do with Thalnos. And I think actually I'm willing to do it with my face. Then again, this is an extra card, and my spell power needs are basically done, so I think I'm actually going to suicide it for the card. Yep, fine. In the unlikely event that his next 2 top decks are Savage Roar and Force of Nature 2, it prevents a kill. That's not why I did it, though.
I can see.
Oh, okay, perfect. Great, so you can see here that this deck is pretty effective against token Druids. I mean, there were times when he was doing okay, but most of that was pretty dominant. And you can also see, by the way, that Starfall, I put it in here for aggro decks, I really did, but it's not a dead card in any case, right? The fact that I could one-shot his Druid of the Claw and just get right past him, it's really excellent for those sort of situations.
Malfurion versus Rexxar!
Okay, so this might be our test against a mid-range
I
hunter.
must protect the wild.
Okay, so we're not going to keep either of these, and frankly I'm not going to keep this either. I would like some early cards that are actually playable. And the Wild Pyro is a good one. Sort of difficult for an early hunter to remove that in an efficient way. Okay, so we are actually dealing with a bit of a rush hunter here. Huh. So to prevent an inefficient trade, I'm going to do this with my face. Not that he would trade with me, but we're going to do that anyway. I'm happy to have the Healing Touch on hand. Okay, Animal Companion. And of course he gets the best one. Okay. Well, so this is a good question. There's not much that works well here. I think that we're going to put out the Wild Pyro. If he trades with it, so be it. If he doesn't, so be it. And I will trade with him next turn by using the Healing Touch when he inevitably hits me in the face and steady shots me. Oh no, he's actually going to trade it. Wow, okay. Well, so then what we can do is we can take it out ourselves and not do anything else this turn, or put out a Yeti and leave it in a disadvantageous position. And frankly, there's no good option here, but I'm actually more interested in, well, that's a good question. I think we're just going to take it out with ourselves. It only does 3 damage that way because of the armor, and it prevents him from sort of having a choice about how to deal with the Yeti.
Ready to ride. Get in there and fight, maggot!
Wow. So this is not looking good. There's no good... Well, that's not true. I say there's no good play. I think there is a good play. And it is in using my face to take out the Wolf Rider and healing myself. And so we're back up to 23. It's nice. We're past the early stage of the game, and we're into the part now where I can start to really put some pressure on myself. And so the Sunwalker is good, Sylvanas would be good, but I think Sunwalker, Ancient of Lore is not a bad idea, or Sunwalker and Faceless Manipulator if he doesn't take the shield off. Even if he does take the shield off, it's not bad. Then again, with a board like this, it almost makes more sense to me to play Sylvanas. So I think that I will.
I have no time for games.
The other thing is it draws off a deadly shot, so my Sunwalker can be more effective if that's the case. Huh, that's pretty interesting. Okay, well, I'm not really sure what the best thing to do here is. I could be very paranoid and heal myself. I think I have enough cards and card advantage because I was quite conservative in the early part of the game that I'm okay. So I think healing is not a bad idea. Then I have 2 5/5s on the table. I think that we will do that, actually. The only other thing that we could do is face this and put down the Druid of the Claw. And normally I would put it out in attack form, in charge form, but I think that I would actually put it out in taunt form this time. Yeah, I think we're going to heal instead.
Let none survive.
Okay, Leroy. So he's going to unleash the hounds here, presumably. Oh, well, okay. No, he just did take out the Sylvanas. See, Sylvanas is really good against aggro decks that way, because it really prevents them from doing a lot. Now, he's in a great place for Unleash the Hounds, which is a little bit scary. I wish I had an Innervate, because I would love to double taunt up here. If we're going to go big as far as board control, we should really sort of embrace it. I think, though, here we're going to do the Sunwalker for insurance, and just start hitting him. This is very dangerous to have 4 creatures against a hunter. He can very easily Starving Buzzard Unleash the Hounds, and this is a big board for him, big combo. It will be difficult to get through the Sunwalker, but if he has a Hunter's Mark, it's only 2 creatures. And assuredly, at this point, he does have a Hunter's Mark. Okay, so 4 cards. He's actually almost going to get close to the point where he is overloaded on cards. Okay, so he doesn't seem to have a means... Oh, wow. Wow. Okay, that's both of his unleashes. He's actually going to destroy a number of cards by doing this. Yep, so there goes a Leper Gnome, there goes an Eaglehorn Bow. Oh, that's great. He was really hoping for the Hunter's Mark, and he got it. Now, if he leaves things over, if he attacks me here, his game is over. If he hits me in the face, then he loses. If he clears my board, he has a better chance. Okay, yeah. Yep. Still, though, that whole thing is for killing 1 creature and, or 2 creatures. Okay, so I think pretty clearly we're going to swipe, no matter what else. And now we have decisions to make. I think we're going to Druid of the Claw. And I'm sort of interested in Druid of the Claw in... Well, really, I'm interested in Druid of the Claw in charge form. But I think I know better than that. He has no more Unleash left, so we can sort of load up the board with impunity, but... so I think it's better to have the 4/6 taunt in this case. Okay, so we have a trap, which will probably... Oh, 2 traps. Okay, so probably that's going to be a misdirect or an explosive shot. I would have a hard time I mean, unless he can clear out the whelps, that was a pretty bad idea, frankly. Okay, Arcane Golem. Wow. Okay, so it's certainly an explosive shot. But that's okay, because we have Ysera, and we have an Innervate and Mark of the Wild. So let's hit this. Okay. And, so, that's not going to be a misdirection, because misdirection activates first. I imagine it's not going to be a freezing trap either. Although maybe it is. Either way, I think Ysera is strong here. Now I'm conscious of the fact that I only have 11 health, but he's burned a lot of his major damage dealing cards. I think we are going to play down Ysera. And what we're not going to do though is taunt her up. Although, then again, maybe we will. If that's a frozen trap, I'm not going to attack with her. It's not explosive, so I think that I will do it. This will be a little bit tight though. Next turn will be a Faceless Manipulator on the Super Ysera, and if we get that going, we probably win.
I'm out of cards.
Okay, now he's actually into Fatigue now. We have 17 cards left, so he's drawn through his entire deck in this time. Oh, he might double kill command me and steady shot, and I'm dead. Wow. Okay, so nothing would have saved me there. That's incredible. Well, okay, so that's Aggro Hunter for you. That was with Healing Touch and with, that was a lot of stuff there that happened. But, whatever the case, that was a very close game, and so, not much you can do about that. Sometimes when the Aggro Hunters go and do their thing, if they get a good draw, and more importantly, if they draw their entire deck like that, then you basically can't do much about it.
Malfurion versus Garrosh.
Alright, so we're up against a warrior.
I must protect
With a pretty excellent opening hand, frankly. I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to keep the Innervate, though. This is like the quintessential ramp. Although that's not a great replacement, but that's okay. Nice and easy. And next turn we could play a 6-mana creature if we need to. And of course, if we actually get one. Well, we could play that, but that seems silly. I guess, since it's up against a control warrior, there's not going to be a lot of reason to have a lot of spell power later. So I'm sort of just going to, I think, play him, and I don't know whether to Mark of the Wild or to Hero Power. I think we will use the Hero Power here.
for the wild.
No need to mark him up if he's just going to immediately die to something easy.
Back to work.
Yeah. Now, he couldn't have done that if I had done Mark of the Wild, so perhaps it would have been the right choice. Now, next turn we can actually put out Rag.
I must safeguard the land.
Okay. And the axe to take it out. So, I think that given no better options, we certainly will Innervate a Rag this turn. Yep, I think so. And the following turn, the play will be Faceless Manipulator. Actually, even worse, the following turn will be Mark of the Wild to make it into a taunted 10-10, and then Faceless Manipulator. I would love for that to happen. If he has an Execute, this isn't too hard to remove. He can hit it with himself, yeah. Yep, and he can just execute it. So that's fair. Oh? Yeah, he's gonna Shield Slam it. Yep, yep. That makes me sad, because 2 10-10s would have been very nice. Okay. See, I sort of want to keep the Keeper for his bigger creatures, like silencing Baron Geddon, or something to that effect. But then again, silencing Baron Geddon or Grom are the two major ones, but we're so early in the game, it's going to be a while before those come out, and I don't really have a lot of more effective plays, so I think I'm going to do this.
I must safeguard the land.
It's also nice to keep his armor down. And again, I'm struck with this conflict of whether we Mark of the Wild or not, and I think that I actually will this time, to make him effectively into a Druid of the Claw. Keepers are good for that. It's a very nice thing to taunt up. Gore Howl. Well, okay. So he's actually getting down very close into kill range, especially since I have Swipe in my hand.
Truth is my shield.
And especially because he'll be tempted to take things out with Gore Howl now. There's a lot of potential here that we can close this out pretty soon. Ha.
Made to fit.
Okay, so how do we want to play this? We could Swipe and Mark of the Wild. The problem with that is just that he's going to get a bunch of armor out of it. And the other problem with that is that I can't Faceless Manipulator another one. Oh yes I can. Oh no, I don't have the mana. So I could use my hero power and hit him in the face. Hit the Sunwalker to get the shield off, Mark of the Wild this one, and then Faceless Manipulator. I think that's actually a very strong option. The alternate would be to Swipe at the Armorsmith rather than him. And if I were to do that, he's down to a 4/5 taunt normally. I then Mark of the Wild. That's 6 mana, and then I just sort of smash them into each other.
Time waits for no one.
Yeah, I think I like the other plan a little bit better.
For the wild.
Justice shall prevail.
My blade be thirsty.
Alright.
Armor made to
Oh, he's
fit.
going to do some whirlwind things, I think. If he did whirlwind right now, it would be quite the trick. It still might not make him win, but it would be helpful. The other thing is, actually doing whirlwind would be sort of irrelevant. He needs to take out one of the Sunwalkers, or else he just loses. So, yeah, this is interesting, actually. He might not have an answer. Okay. Okay, there you go, there's your answer. Okay, well, it seems pretty obvious that we're going to put out the Yeti and we're going to Swipe something. There's not much else to do, and so we'll use the hero power as well. So if I hit him for 6, he'll be down to 10. And so Swipe would only take him down to not far enough, essentially. So I guess we're going to Swipe the Frothing Berserker to get him dead. And that's going to suck because he's going to get a couple more armor points out of it. But I'll control the armor with the hero power, and then he will have a much harder time breaking sort of my wall.
Justice shall prevail.
For the wild.
Okay, another shield block. Infuriatingly. If he has shield slam, he can get rid of the Yeti. The other thing that's cool about having him so low on health is that it prevents him from using Gore Howl well. He's afraid of putting himself too low, which is a good fear to have if I were him. Okay. That's absolutely perfect.
I dream and the world trembles.
So I do 10 damage to him this turn.
Justice shall prevail.
Take it back down. And I'm not going to innervate at the hero power, I don't think that's worth it. Perfect. A brawl would be one of the only things that would save him at the moment. If he got lucky with it. If the Sunwalker stayed up, he'd just lose. Now, is he gonna kill that with the Gore Howl? He is. Wow. Alright. So what's his answer then? Alexstrasza, of course. Yep. Sure. Okay. Well, so one nifty trick that we could do here, because he can't kill Alexstrasza this turn, unless he uses Execute after damaging one of my creatures. And so what I could do is put out Sylvanas and Nightmare her, and then at the beginning of next turn, she will die and take Alexstrasza. That said, I also don't need to do that.
What to do?
Hold on, I don't win, right? 8 plus 5 is only 13, yeah. So that's fine. 13, I'd be within 1 though. That's very close. But I think we'll do this. We'll save Nightmare.
For the wild.
And in all likelihood we'll do fine with this. At this point I only need one creature on the table and I can double Nightmare it. Nightmare is generally considered to be one of the worst Ysera cards, but it does certainly have its uses.
I wonder.
Okay, so he may... Oh wow, okay, that's interesting. Ysera is the one that lives. That's a creative way of getting out of Sylvanas. Now the unfortunate part to this is that I actually do need a creature in order to use Nightmare. If I got Druid of the Claw, I win, without even using them. But unfortunately we're going to have to go with the Yeti.
For the wild.
I do have, I mean, both Druid of the Claw cards are in there. I've got a 1 in 7 chance, and that's an automatic win. Especially because with the double Nightmare, it can be a 14-14, so basically whatever... 14-14 with charge, so basically whatever he does is irrelevant. He's gonna go high, execute this.
Back to work.
Cruel Taskmaster, wow, okay. Cairn.
The Earth Mother.
Okay, great. Wonderful. Okay, cool. So, that was a good one.
Malfurion
Alright, we have another mirror match.
Malfurion.
I must protect the wild. Nature will rise against you.
Okay, so that's, I wouldn't say perfect, but it's certainly not a bad start. We have an answer if he puts out something early that needs killing for some reason, which I don't think he would. And we have Wild Growth as well. So I think next turn is obviously Wild Growth. And then what we can do is actually Wild Pyro Mark of the Wild if he has anything out with 1 health, but of course that would be doubtful. Okay. I do like keeping the Keeper for essentially bigger threats, right? I mean, it's very, very efficient for tempo, and so I think because we have other plays, we're going to take him. I'm not going to play both Wild Pyros, because if I played any spell, then they both die.
I must safeguard the land.
Fair enough. So one of our options would be to Wild Pyro Mark of the Wild. And I sort of like that. I don't really... I mean, I guess throwing down my own Keeper on that would be okay, but it's inefficient. It doesn't kill anything like his did. As a Druid, he's not going to have a lot of little small things to kill, unless he's a token Druid. And even still, I've got Swipe and now I have Starfall, so I'm not actually concerned about that. I think I will put out the wild power with Mark of the Wild. He could potentially innervate up to a Black Knight next turn, but that would only be a good thing, I think. Only be a victory.
I must safeguard the land.
Okay. Fair enough, so that's good. That's both of his keepers fleshed out. I like that. Now the question is, I'm not actually sure I've ever seen a golden one of those before. That's sort of cool looking. Need to get myself a pair. So I could swipe and then hero power, and depending on what sort of a druid he is, that it would be or would not be a mistake. I just really like keeping this behind, because if he's got Sunwalkers or something like that, they just kill that threat so easily. And Cairn is a very common card, so I think we're actually going to keep that back, and we're just going to hit him for this. We have Starfall, so I'm not too concerned about AoE damage.
Where shall I strike?
I think we're going to put out Sylvanas. The only other option would be Hero Power Keeper. It doesn't make much sense, so that top deck is a good one. And of course he has no silences, so that's good.
Take heart.
Ah, there we go. So there's our silence. Now, the other thing that we could do is we could put down the Sunwalker and hero power the Druid, and then kill it with Sylvanas. And that's pretty cool. We have Healing Touch, so I'm not so concerned about taking another hit of damage there. And then Sylvanas would almost be dead. Yeah, I do like that plan. The other thing is that I would like to silence Cairn. The likelihood that we get it, though, for Sylvanas might actually be somewhat high, so we can silence him. So yeah, I'm going to do the former thing.
Is my shield.
Let none survive.
Now, one of the things that I can also do... Oh, yes, there we go. That's actually perfect. Yeah. I'm actually completely and totally fine that he did that, because we're going to kill his entire board and get a Cairn.
Let none survive.
And frankly, there's not a whole lot else that I have any desire to do right now. I mean, I can play the Keeper, but I don't want to. He doesn't have a board for me to do Starfall or anything. I don't have big minions, so I mean, like... I guess it wouldn't be a tragedy to put the Keeper out. He's used now Cairn and the Black Knight, not that matters. It's just such a travesty to waste 7 whole mana. Yeah, no, I will do it.
Safeguard the land.
We'll see whether that was a mistake. Also, our game ending, or our turn ending button seems to have bugged out. Okay, Ancient of War. It's fine. And that's it. Okay, so that would have been really nice to hold back the Keeper. So it was a mistake to play him after all. Because then I would have silenced it, it would have just been a 5-5 with no taunt, and it would have been just dandy. This will present more of a challenge. It's a shame to do, but I could Starfall and swipe and hero power. And if I were to... No, I can't do all of that, of course, because I don't have enough mana, but I could run this into it, and then I have an unfettered Cairn and everything is fine. The alternate, I suppose, would be to run Cairn and the Keeper into it. I would still have Bane, and I can just swipe down the rest. Still have Starfall. Yeah, that's probably the thing to do, much as that sucks. And then I'm low enough in health that I can actually Healing Touch myself.
Truth is my shield.
Yeah, I'm quite sad I wasted that Keeper now.
Where shall I strike?
So if we do Starfall, then Bane efficiently trades with the Druid of the Claw, and I can put up my own Druid of the Claw in, well, I could put him up in charge form, but I think I can also put him up in taunt, maybe that's better. And then I could hero power the Sunwalker, who would then have his shield down, and he would take enough damage that that he would die if he tried to attack one of my creatures. I think actually though I'll do that first. And I will use the Innervate here, we're at 10 mana. So we'll do everything.
For the wild.
The other thing is that I could just out and out kill the Sunwalker. And if I did that, Bane would trade... well, so instead,
For no one.
the Druid would still be alive. So no, we're going to do it to everything. And the Sunwalker will be alive, but he has less health, so it's fine.
Where shall I strike?
Now, of course, what I really need right now is an Ancient of Lore. An Ancient of Lore would help to really seal the game out for me. Or Ysera. Both would be useful. Wow. Or the Black Knight, frankly. Black Knight would also be okay. Yeah, that's not bad. We're not going to do that.
I bring life and
Okay. Well, I guess then we're going to just kill the Ironbark Protector this way. That's a little bit annoying, but so be it. I'm also going to play this because I really, really would like cards.
For the wild. Job done.
I would very much like him to kill it. At this point, actually, if I were to top deck Wrath, I would almost certainly Wrath Thunders instead, to get 2 cards out of it.
Truth is my shield.
This is a very long game, it's just dragging on. And the tables at this point have turned. I really could use an Ancient Lore. Wild Growth's not awful. That's more awful in this situation. Okay, so we can silence the Sunwalker and taunt him up. That's not bad. Unfortunately, we don't have enough to kill Alexstrasza. So, yeah, we will certainly do that.
For the wild.
And happily enough, only Alexstrasza can kill this. The Sunwalker can't. The Sunwalker is just an expensive Yeti at this point. Okay, that's good. Wow. Whatever deck he's running has just more taunts than at all imaginable. He just has them all. There's been a Druid of War, there's been 2 Ironbark Protectors, there's been 2 Sunwalkers. Well, I don't have much choice, and if he doesn't hit the Ironbark Protector, I might die. In fact, it is likely that I will die. So hopefully it's the Ironbark Protector. Come on, Rag. That's not really the Ironbark Protector, I gotta say. Maybe he will trade the Ironbark Protector, although I find that would be silly. Okay, he's got this. Well, that's unfortunate. It's quite the deck he's got. Extremely late game, extremely standoffish. Alexstrasza won in that game, I think.
Malfurion versus Gul'dan.
Okay, so we have a Warlock who presumably will be Zoo. I have not seen a single handlock in from rank 5 to 1 in my current go-around. So given that, I'm actually interested in keeping this, and I'll get rid of these 2. These are nice opening cards. The Blood Mage just to make the Wrath a little bit more versatile. That's pretty awful.
the light protects me.
Okay, I think we're actually going to coin out a hero power on that. Not the Wrath, because it's not going to kill it. The Wrath has better uses than that, but at least to make this a little bit easier to deal with. Zoo is usually not too big of a problem. We just need to hit our Starfall or Swipe or Taunts, and usually it is not out of the realm of possibility to find all of those with no big deal. Now, the Knife Juggler is the main target that I want dead. However, Wrath will give me a card if I do the Argent Squire, and I don't have any responses to early game pressure right now, and so I think I want to card cycle. Normally, I would kill the Knife Juggler, I really would, but I'm not confident in my hand at the moment, so I need to do this.
Put this apple on your head.
Oh, that's bad. Double the DPS. Okay, well, we're going to do Wild Growth because we don't have any other options. But certainly, this is very scary. We've had a really bad opening against this, so the likelihood that we will win is slim at this point. An Innervate next turn might be helpful, or a Wild Pyromancer would actually also be quite helpful. Or Swipe. Swipe would actually be brilliant. Although it wouldn't because I don't have enough mana for Thalnos. Starfall. And that card is none of those things at all. So I guess what we're going to do in desperation here is Thalnos and Mark of the Wild. But this is pretty rough. We're just going to straight up lose this because we've had a terrible draw. I mean, at this point, when you get the wrong half of your deck, I mean, look at my hand, right? Lowest value card is 5 and its Faceless Manipulator, everything else is 6, 6, 7, 8. There's basically nothing you can do against that. I could theoretically be stabilizing at the moment, this turn, but I probably won't.
We must cleanse the Sunwell.
If he has Soulfire, I just lose.
It's time for a
Actually, I lose anyway. Yeah, if he just summons creatures. Yep. And so, that's the end of that. He got a good draw, and I got a really, really bad draw. So that's gonna happen. Normally, like I said, I've not lost against Zoo with this deck for a long time, because normally it's not that bad, but it's got all the wrong drops. Alright, up against a Hunter. Presumably, this will be a mid-range Hunter.
Begin. I must protect the wild.
Certainly going to keep the Wild Growth. The Swipe is very good against early game, sort of Unleash the Hounds, that sort of thing. But I don't think we're going to keep it if we're going to keep the Keeper. And I think that the Keeper is more useful, especially in the beginning. Just because he's not going to unleash if I only have a creature on the board, right? Or two. So we're going to get rid of that. And we have our AoE damage anyway, so that's good. Okay, so that's a fairly okay start. Oh, wow, okay. Seems like he's actually an aggro hunter instead. Now see, this is unfortunate, because what I would like to do is Wild Growth and Wrath. And I sort of don't want to burn out an Innervate that quickly, but maybe that's the right choice. Keep me, it'll get rid of 3 cards out of my hand, but by the same token it will be very, very fast as a start for me. Yeah, so I think we will do that. Well, then again, maybe we won't. Oh, that's such a tough question. Because with the Wild Pyromancer, both of these are spells, and so to drop him next turn, and then innervating the Wild Growth, I think we are going to leave it. I don't like that, because I want to be ramping quickly, and I want to have access to the Keeper, but still. Yeah, okay, we're certainly going to play one of these this turn, for the reason that I have 2 of them. Okay, that's probably an explosive trap or something of the like. So I suppose what we'll do then is I will play the Wild Growth. probably hero power, actually.
For the wild.
Yep. That's great. That was only a 1 creature, so I'm happy with that. I don't see a reason where it's going to be necessary, but the Thalnos Starfall is going to be nice to have around. I say not going to be necessary because there's basically nothing for a hunter that has, you know, the circumstance will be that they will have many 3 health creatures in the board. It just doesn't really happen very often.
For the wild.
As a result, I might actually play Thalnos sometime soon, so as to keep the cards cycling, essentially. Now, so this presents us with an interesting option. I like the idea of cards very, very much, but I also like the idea of health. Because against this, even though I have Healing Touch in the deck, I don't have it right now, and he may kill me before I get a chance. So I'm thinking that maybe it's better to put down the Yeti and use the hero power, give myself a little bit of armor, not put too many creatures on the board, that sort of thing. So yeah, I think we will just develop the board here.
Feel nature's wrath. For the wild.
Okay, so he may well do the combo here, yeah. I wonder if he has 2 Timberwolves, because that would just be very, very tasty. I wouldn't even put down... You don't even need the Starfall at that point. I could just use the Wild Pyro. Oh, look at this. Oh yeah, look at that board. That's just swipe bait, but it's also Wild Pyro bait. Yeah, okay, perfect. So he's just going to rush for it. So what we'll do is we'll put down the Wild Pyro, we will innervate out an Ancient of Lore and heal. And that will solve the entire board, and also give me a bunch of health back.
You like to play with fire?
I mean, the other thing that I could do to be more mana efficient is I could mark the Wild here instead. But I think I'm going to innervate out the 5/5.
Feel nature's wrath.
Now that's a pretty gorgeous Unleash the Hounds target, though. So certainly next turn a Mark of the Wild will come down. Which is too bad. If I have a chance to kill the Pyro somehow, I will do that first. Okay, Leroy and Unleash. Oh no, okay. Wolf Rider, so that's 9 damage to me. And I believe I win. So let's see here. 5, 8, 10, 14, 15, 16, and swipe. So we attack with everything first.
Feel nature's wrath. Well played.
And there we go. And the Wild Pyro even cleans up the Leroy too. Perfect. Okay, and so this is probably going to be the last match that we'll run through today. We are up against a Warlock. So, okay, so we're going to get rid of this again. We are going to keep the Wild Growth. I'm going to keep the Innervate in case we have a hand like last time. We have a sort of a, you know, against the last zoo we fought, 6, 7, 8 hand, can't do anything. This allows us to play a 6, 7, 8 hand on turn 3, so we're going to do this. It gives us access to all of our deck, essentially. Yeah, that's not bad. That's pretty good, actually. Yep. So we could also innervate out the Keeper of the Grove this turn. And maybe that's not a bad idea to limit the Flame Imp. In the following turn we could do Mark of the Wild. Yeah, I do actually like the creature presence on the table there. So I think, in fact, I'm going to do that. I'm going to deviate a little bit to limit the damage as much as possible. The only other thing that we could do really is Wrath for 3 on the Voidwalker, and I'm not going to do that. And we could obviously just Wild Growth, but I like this better.
I must safeguard the land.
Put this apple on your head.
It's also quite tempting here to Wrath the Knife Juggler, because last time I didn't do that. All things went wrong. I think actually I will do that. I could Mark of the Wild the Keeper, turn him into a 4/6, and then clear out the Voidwalker. He'd be a 4/5. But if I do it this way, he's a 2/3. The Void is almost dead, and the Knife Juggler is dead, so I do like that. I have the Wild Pyro this turn as well. So if he puts out a bunch of things like Young Priestesses or Abusive Sergeants, I can put down the Wild Pyro and Mark of the Wild it.
The light protects me.
Oh wow, he must have had a bad hand. Okay, well, you know, given the sort of relative safety of what's happening right now, I'm actually going to put down the Wild Pyro and Wild Growth, because then the following turn, we're on turn 6, we have a lot of options. So, that's what we'll do.
To play with fire.
Feel nature's
And against Zoo, even though it's only a 1/1, we clear everything on the table. Yep, that makes sense.
For the crusade!
Yeah, this is a guy who's had a very slow draw. Yeah. Huh, okay. So I guess we're going to Mark the Wild the Keeper, and I guess we're going to use our face to pop the shield on this.
I wonder.
For the wild.
I'm going to keep Thalos in hand. But yeah, no, I think that's the thing to do. Now the other question here is, and I don't know, my gut instinct says, if it were any other deck, I would immediately hit over his head here. But the fact that he's Zoo has the fear factor. But I think that I am actually going to do this. Worst case scenario, he Soulfires it, which is actually just fine, because it flushes out or burns out a Soulfire. Yep, perfect. Alright, wow. Okay, so, this is actually a really tight spot. This is deceptively difficult. I don't have any spells, so the Wild Pyro's usefulness is limited. If I hit the Scarlet Crusader with my face, that's fine. But then I'm down to 15, and then he hits me for 5 with the Doomguard, I'm down to 10. If he top decks the other Doomguard, I'm at 5. So that's not nice. What I could do is, I think that that's probably the right option, given what he has here, because putting out a 5/5 and healing still has minions on the table for him. And if I stabilize, I'd like cards. I was going to take cards if it weren't for that, but I probably will use them for healing later on now. So I think we're going to do this. Thalnos, by the way, just for cards. I would normally keep him for other things, and if I top deck Starfall here and he doesn't kill it, then I have the Doomguard's dead. But yeah, mostly I just want cards.
For the crusade!
Oh wow, okay. Ha! Well, so now we have a question. I could hero power... in fact, yeah, that's exactly what we're going to do. I'm going to hero power the Scarlet Crusader, and then I'm going to Starfall, and I'm going to hit everything, and then use Thalnos to take out the Doomguard.
For the wild.
And then next turn will be heals. Now, of course, it doesn't actually. This is irrelevant. I could use Thalanos to take out the Scarlet Crusader too. Either way is just fine. Okay. Yep. So we'll heal with the Ancient next turn, and we'll hold. We'll try to sustain as best we can. Cards would be so good,
My shield for Argus.
but I don't want to be. It would also be very greedy, and I don't trust it. Yeah, and we'll armor up after this as well. I'm not going to use anything. Don't need to. But functionally now we have 20 health and a 5/5 on the table, so it's good. This is, of course, where Thalanos would have been nice, but that's okay. Oh, wow. Okay, that's not pleasant. Okay, so if we... Well, we're going to swipe some stuff, that's for sure. I guess what we're going to end up doing... Yeah, that's how we're going to do it. We're going to swipe the Voidwalker, and then we're going to use Wrath on the Commander, and then we're going to hero power the Wolf. And that's a lovely top deck.
Job's done.
Glory to the Sindori.
Oh wow. He's one of those running a Blood Knight. Yeah, we're gonna put this into Taunt, and we'll put out the Yeti as well. He can certainly kill that, obviously. And if he top decks a Soulfire or a Doomguard, it will be very unpleasant. But this is looking better for us.
You shall not pass.
Okay.
My shield for Argus.
Okay, so it's not especially desirable to use a silence on this, but we will.
I must safeguard.
Well, I mean, I say that, it is absolutely desirable. Gets us through, gives him a useless minion, and puts us in a nice place.
For the wild.
Again, we're still in danger, but next turn, if we clear his board, we have Rag. Now, he was debating life tapping there, because he then has to kill the Yeti with the Defender. His hand is probably a Soulfire, actually. If it was any of his minions outside of a Doomguard, even a Doomguard, he would play it. Because then he would actually have lethal, I think. No, yeah, it is a Soulfire. Yep, that was the right option. So, I think we have to play Rag here, and then it's just sort of roulette, really. We could win right away. The Knife Juggler alone is not going to kill us. He used a Soulfire, so he needs to come up with 7 damage, which a Doomguard can't do, but he certainly has ways of doing. Perfect. That's fine. I'm okay with that. Yep. Okay. He's just gonna make this difficult for me, but that's fine. This is great. We've locked this back down.
Truth is my shield.
For the wild.
Now he can't life tap anymore. The thing that I like best about Zoo is that they don't tend to run hard removal like Soul Siphon. So putting down a giant legendary that you can protect is pretty hard for them to beat. So perfect. So on that note, I guess, so that's the update, that's the changes to the Druid deck. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think in the comments. I really like the changes. I think they're strong. And yeah, so I hope this is helpful to you. I hope that this has been helpful to you in climbing the ladder. And good luck. Hope to see you on Ranked.